It is March 2026, and West Ham United just banned their own player from the gym. Not because he is injured, not because he failed a fitness test, because he grows muscle too efficiently. His own biology has become the biggest threat to his career. That man is Adama Traore, and today, we are going to answer the question that every defender, every sports scientist, and every fan has been asking for over a decade. How does a professional footballer who swears he never lifts weights carry more muscle than most competitive bodybuilders? I am Sebastian, a licensed physical therapist and performance analyst, and this is the Injury Breakdown. Stay with me, because by the end, you will never look at a professional athlete the same way again. Let us go back to 2012. A 17-year-old is jogging around the training pitches at FC Barcelona's youth academy. He is lean, quick, and completely unremarkable in terms of size. He looks like 100 other prospects cycling through La Masia every season. Nothing about that teenager hints at what is coming. Then puberty arrives, and Adama's biology decides to ignore the normal rulebook entirely. Within a few years, that slim kid transforms into something that looks more like a sprinter who got lost on the way to the Olympics and accidentally ended up on a soccer field. By his mid-20s, his arms and shoulders make defenders physically hesitate before the whistle blows. So what changed? The answer starts somewhere you cannot see, cannot feel, and cannot train your way around. It starts inside his DNA. Every human being is born with a version of a gene called ACTN3. Think of this gene like the factory setting on a car engine. What it controls is the protein that builds and powers fast-twitch muscle fibers. The fibers responsible for explosive acceleration and maximum effort sprinting. Scientists nicknamed one specific favorable variant the speed gene. Elite sprinters carry it at a disproportionately high rate compared to the general population. But what researchers observe in people who gain muscle at truly abnormal rates, people whose bodies seem to overreact to physical stress, goes beyond ACTN3 alone. It points to a second biological mechanism. It points to a protein called myostatin. Here is the best way to understand myostatin. Imagine your muscle growth has a bouncer. A large, stubborn bouncer whose only job is to stand at the door of your muscle cells and say, "You are big enough. No more growth tonight. Go home." That bouncer is myostatin. Evolution designed it this way because building and maintaining large muscles costs enormous energy. But what happens when that bouncer falls asleep on the job permanently? Scientists have studied this in real animals. Belgian blue cattle, a real breed found in Belgium and across parts of Europe, carry a natural mutation in the myostatin gene. The result is animals so muscular their skeletal frames look overwhelmed by their own tissue. They were not trained differently or fed special diets. Their DNA simply deactivated the bouncer. There is also a documented human case, published in a major medical journal in 2004, of a child born in Germany with a similar suppression. By age 4, that child could hold 2-kilogram weights horizontally with arms fully extended, something most trained adults cannot do. Do I have proof Adama Traore carries this mutation? No. But his body's response to physical activity is so disproportionate to the stimulus that a partial myostatin suppression is one of the most credible explanations in sports science. While your muscles are still debating whether last Tuesday's workout was worth it, Adama's cells are already laying new structural tissue. Every sprint, every acceleration, every hard stop. His body registers all of it as a construction order for more muscle. Adama Traore says he does not lift weights. His coaches have confirmed it. And technically, he is telling the truth. But the truth here is only half the story. Not lifting weights in a gym does not mean his muscles are not being loaded under serious stress. There is a concept in exercise physiology called mechanical tension. Think of it as the master switch for muscle growth. When a muscle is forced to generate force while simultaneously being stretched, The tension at the cellular level triggers a signal that tells the body to add more protein to that muscle fiber. In a gym, a heavy squat or deadlift creates significant mechanical tension. That is exactly why those exercises work. But when Adama Traore, weighing approximately 86 kilograms, moving at close to 37 kilometers per hour, decelerates in under 2 steps to change direction, the load absorbed by his legs is estimated by exercise scientists to rival or exceed the stress of a 200-kilogram squat. He is not doing squats. He is doing something more mechanically extreme, repeated dozens of times per match, without a weight room in sight. His sport is his gym, and his genetics turn every explosive movement into a growth signal his body cannot suppress. There is a historical figure who understood this principle over a century before sports science had the words for it. Eugen Sandow, born in Prussia in 1872, is considered the father of modern bodybuilding. With no machines, no barbells as we know them, and no gym equipment of any kind, Sandow built a physique so remarkable that scientists and physicians paid to physically examine his muscles at public exhibitions. He toured the United States in the 1890s, where audiences of thousands came simply to watch him exist. Thomas Edison filmed Sandow in 1894, making him one of the first humans ever captured on motion picture. His training method was called muscle control, the maximal voluntary contraction of specific muscles using nothing but body weight and applied tension. No gym, no equipment, just the body loaded against itself. Sandow was generating mechanical tension without a weight room. Adama Traore is doing the exact same thing, 150 years later, on a soccer pitch. Now let us address the baby oil. The internet treated it as pure ego, as theatrical vanity from a man who already owns every camera in the stadium before he has touched the ball. But as a physical therapist, I see something different. I see biomechanical problem solving. During his time at Wolverhampton Wanderers between 2019 and 2020, Adama suffered repeated injuries to his shoulder joint, specifically the rotator cuff, which functions like the suspension system of the shoulder. 4 tendons holding the ball of the upper arm bone correctly seated inside the socket. When a defender grabs a player moving at full speed, the physics create what biomechanists call a lever effect. The arm is being forced away from the socket by the combined momentum of the moving player and the locked grip of the defender. That is the mechanical cause of a shoulder dislocation. Now imagine coating that arm in oil. The defender makes contact but slides off instead of locking. The lever never fully forms. The dislocating force is interrupted before it can reach the injury threshold. Baby oil applied before a match is not aesthetics. It is fluid dynamics turned into medical prevention. Zero cost, completely legal, and one of the most elegant injury protection strategies I have encountered in 15 years of working in professional sport. This brings us back to 2026 and the gym ban. West Ham's decision is not arbitrary. A muscle cell is one of the most metabolically expensive structures the human body maintains. It requires glycogen, which is your body's on-site emergency fuel stored inside the muscle itself, similar to a reserve tank that only that specific engine can access. It requires a constant supply of oxygenated blood through a dense capillary network. It generates heat the cardiovascular system must continuously manage. The relationship between muscle mass and athletic performance is not a straight line going up forever. It follows a curve with a peak. Below that peak, more muscle means more power and more speed. That is the Adama Traore who has been dismantling Premier League defenses for years. Past that peak, the additional tissue demands more fuel and more cooling than the heart and lungs can efficiently deliver. Think of it like installing the most powerful engine ever built inside a car whose fuel tank and cooling system were engineered for something half its size. Unbeatable over a short burst. But past a certain point, it overheats and slows down. That is the threshold West Ham's performance staff appears to have identified. Not that Adama is too muscular in some vague aesthetic sense. but that his ratio of muscle mass to cardiovascular capacity may have reached the exact point where additional tissue stops being a weapon on a soccer pitch and starts acting as a drag on performance. Adama Traore is not a footballer who worked hard and happened to build an impressive body. He is a genetic outlier whose biological architecture would have produced elite results in almost any demanding physical discipline. He chose soccer at 12 years old. He fell in love with the game. And the game, filtered through one of the most unusual genetic profiles in professional sport, built something football had never quite seen before. What if he had gone into powerlifting? The projections are uncomfortable for existing world record holders. What if he had dedicated himself to the 100-meter sprint? We might be saying a very different name in conversations about the fastest humans alive. But he did not. And because he did not, we got the most physically imposing athlete the Premier League has ever produced. The West Ham gym ban is not a punishment. It is professional sport formally acknowledging that this human being has pushed the physical boundaries of football all the way to the edge of what the game itself can contain. Adama Traore did not break the rules of soccer. He came extraordinarily close to breaking the rules of human biology. I am Sebastian. This has been the Injury Breakdown. Share this video if it changed how you think about genetics and athletic performance. And tell me in the comments which athlete you want me to dissect next. The next case is already open.